Emily Willis, the former adult film star whose real name is Litzy Lara Banuelos, has become the center of one of the most heartbreaking legal and medical stories in recent entertainment news. What began as a voluntary attempt to overcome addiction has now ended with permanent brain damage, a multi-million-dollar legal settlement, and a life that has been changed forever. A California judge has officially approved a $3 million settlement for Emily after she suffered catastrophic brain injuries while staying at a Malibu rehabilitation facility. Because Emily is no longer able to make decisions for herself, the settlement was approved through her mother and legal conservator, Yesenia Lara Cooper. While the legal case may now be coming to an end, the emotional impact on her family is only continuing, and the story has sparked major conversations about addiction treatment, patient safety, and accountability. To understand why this case has attracted so much public attention, it's important to go back to the beginning. By 2024, Emily Willis had already become one of the biggest names in the adult entertainment industry. She had built a highly successful career, won multiple industry awards, and developed a massive online following. Behind the public image, however, she was reportedly struggling with a serious ketamine addiction that had become impossible to ignore. According to legal filings, Emily had been consuming between 5 and 6 grams of ketamine every day for approximately a year before deciding to seek professional help. Her decision to enter rehab appeared to be a turning point. Family members believed she genuinely wanted to recover and rebuild her life. On January 27, 2024, she voluntarily checked in to Summit Malibu, a luxury rehabilitation center in California. She arrived hoping to begin treatment for her addiction and address several serious health issues that had developed alongside it. In addition to substance dependency, Emily was reportedly suffering from severe bladder problems linked to long-term ketamine use, as well as anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, and recurring night terrors. What happened over the following days would eventually become the center of an explosive lawsuit. According to the legal complaint filed by Emily's family, her physical condition continued to deteriorate while she was receiving treatment. The lawsuit alleges that she became increasingly dehydrated, displayed signs of serious medical distress, and developed symptoms that should have prompted immediate emergency intervention. The family claims the warning signs were missed or ignored, and opportunities to prevent a medical disaster were lost. Then, on February 4, 2024, tragedy struck. Emily was discovered unconscious inside the rehabilitation facility. Emergency responders were called, and CPR was performed for an extended period before they were finally able to restore her heartbeat. Although her heart began beating again, the prolonged lack of oxygen had already caused devastating damage to her brain. Doctors later confirmed that she had suffered an anoxic brain injury, one of the most severe forms of neurological trauma, caused when the brain is deprived of oxygen for too long. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. Instead of leaving rehabilitation after completing treatment, Emily left the facility permanently disabled. Court documents later revealed that she lost the ability to independently speak, walk, or care for herself. Her condition became so severe that she required around-the-clock medical supervision and assistance with every aspect of daily living. As her family struggled to understand what had happened, they began asking difficult questions. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Did medical staff recognize the seriousness of her condition? Were emergency procedures followed appropriately? Those questions eventually led to a major lawsuit against Summit Malibu. The complaint accused the rehabilitation center of negligence, professional malpractice, elder and dependent adult abuse, and failure to provide appropriate medical care. Emily's legal team argued that staff members failed to properly monitor her deteriorating health and did not take necessary action before she suffered cardiac arrest. According to the lawsuit, earlier medical intervention could have prevented the irreversible brain injury that permanently changed her life. The rehabilitation center strongly rejected those allegations. Its legal representatives maintained throughout the case that staff members acted appropriately based on the information available at the time. They argued that Emily repeatedly refused certain medications and declined recommendations to seek emergency hospital treatment. According to their defense, because Emily voluntarily refused care, staff members could not legally force her to receive outside medical treatment against her wishes. This created one of the central legal issues in the case. Emily's family argued that the rehabilitation facility had a duty to recognize when her condition became life-threatening and act accordingly. The defense argued that patient autonomy limited what staff members were legally allowed to do. Rather than allowing a jury to decide who was responsible, both sides eventually agreed to resolve the dispute through a negotiated settlement. The settlement, recently approved by a California judge, totals $3 million. However, many headlines have focused only on that number without explaining an important detail. The full settlement amount will not go directly toward Emily's care. Like many civil lawsuits, significant portions will be used to cover attorney fees, legal expenses, and litigation costs. Court filings indicate that after those deductions, approximately $1.25 million will remain available to support Emily's ongoing medical treatment and future care.
While that may still sound like a large amount of money, experts have noted that lifelong neurological care can cost millions of dollars over several decades. Patients with severe brain injuries often require specialized rehabilitation, full-time caregivers, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, adaptive medical equipment, medications, and long-term residential support. In many cases, those expenses continue for the rest of a person's life. Because Emily is no longer capable of managing her own financial or legal affairs, her mother, Yesenia Lara Cooper, was appointed as her conservator. She now makes medical, financial, and legal decisions on Emily's behalf. Throughout the legal process, Emily's mother has remained determined to pursue accountability while focusing on providing the best possible care for her daughter. Court filings paint an incredibly emotional picture of Emily's current condition. According to her attorney, Emily remains profoundly neurologically impaired. She occasionally opens her eyes and may produce limited vocal sounds, but she cannot communicate consistently or independently control her body. She requires complete assistance for virtually every daily activity. Medical professionals involved in the case reportedly believe that her neurological injuries are permanent. That reality has made this one of the most tragic celebrity medical stories in recent years. For many people, Emily's story is particularly heartbreaking because it began with an attempt to recover from addiction. She wasn't entering rehab because of legal trouble. She wasn't forced into treatment. She voluntarily sought professional help in hopes of rebuilding her future. Instead, she emerged with life-altering injuries that ended her independence forever. The case has also renewed public discussion about ketamine addiction. Although ketamine is legally used in hospitals as an anesthetic and has also gained approval in carefully supervised settings for certain treatment-resistant mental health conditions, experts have repeatedly warned that chronic recreational abuse carries serious health risks. Long-term heavy ketamine use has been associated with severe bladder disease, kidney damage, memory problems, cognitive decline, GI complications, and dependence. The reported level of ketamine use described in Emily's legal filings reflected an addiction requiring intensive medical treatment. Her story has therefore become a powerful reminder that substance addiction is a serious medical condition rather than simply a personal failing. Online reaction to the settlement has been intense. Many social media users have expressed sympathy for Emily and her family, saying that no one seeking addiction treatment should experience such a devastating outcome. Others questioned whether $3 million is enough compensation for someone who now requires lifelong medical care. Some legal commentators have also pointed out that settlements often reflect litigation risk rather than certainty about who would ultimately win at trial. In other words, both sides avoid the uncertainty, cost, and emotional toll of lengthy courtroom proceedings. Importantly, the settlement does not represent an admission of wrongdoing by the rehabilitation facility. Instead, it allows both parties to resolve the dispute without a jury determining legal liability. Even with the settlement finalized, however, many questions remain unanswered. Exactly what happened during those critical hours before Emily became unresponsive? Were there warning signs that should have prompted emergency action sooner? Could earlier intervention have prevented permanent brain damage? Because the case has now settled, those questions may never receive definitive public answers. Emily's story has also prompted wider conversations throughout the healthcare community about addiction treatment facilities. Many rehabilitation centers primarily focus on psychological support and substance recovery rather than acute emergency medicine. However, patients arriving with serious medical complications often require close monitoring for rapidly changing physical conditions. Cases like Emily's highlight the importance of recognizing when a patient's medical needs extend beyond addiction treatment alone. The tragedy has resonated far beyond the entertainment industry. Even people unfamiliar with Emily's career have followed the case because it raises universal questions about trust, healthcare, patient rights, and medical responsibility. Families place enormous faith in treatment facilities when loved ones seek help. Stories like this inevitably lead people to ask how those facilities prepare for emergencies and how quickly they respond when conditions suddenly worsen. At the center of all these legal debates, medical discussions, and public reactions is a young woman whose life changed forever in just a matter of minutes. Emily Willis entered rehabilitation hoping to recover from addiction. She left with permanent neurological injuries that will require lifelong care. No legal settlement can restore the life she once had. No financial award can undo irreversible brain damage. For her family, the case has never simply been about compensation. It has been about obtaining support for Emily's future care while seeking answers about the events that led to one of the most devastating outcomes imaginable. As this story continues to resonate across both legal and medical communities, it serves as a sobering reminder that addiction treatment is often far more complex than many people realize. Recovery involves physical health, mental health, emergency medical preparedness, and constant clinical judgment. When those systems fail or are alleged to have failed, the consequences can be irreversible. Whether viewed as a medical tragedy, a legal battle, or a cautionary story about addiction, Emily Willis's case will likely remain one of the most significant and widely discussed rehabilitation lawsuits in recent years. And as her family continues caring for her every single day, they hope that her story will encourage greater awareness, stronger patient protections, and improved standards of care for those seeking help during some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates and in-depth news stories just like this.